Today I'll be showing you how to remove the headliner in a W211 Mercedes E-Class sedan. The first thing you'll want to do is open the sunroof about halfway. You'll need to remove this black plastic trim piece, which is held in the center by plastic clips. So I like to work one side of it, and then once you get a bit of it free, you can move the rest of the way across it with a plastic trim tool. Since this piece is exposed to a lot of heat, it's probably going to be pretty brittle, so just be careful when you're taking it out. Now go ahead and fully open the sunroof. This way you can take the sunshade panel out. Moving to the roof of the car, you'll see that the sunshade is held in by these little spring-loaded plastic tabs, and there are 4 of these in total. So you want to get the front and the back released, and then you should be able to lift this whole piece out. While you're up here, you'll also want to remove this metal trim piece that holds the front lip of the headliner in. Next, you want to go ahead and pull the weather stripping down from all of the doors. I ended up, after this, just pulling it all the way out. Now, you don't need to remove the C-pillars completely, but I was going to cover them in the matching material, so I did. To take these out, you'll need to unbolt the rear seat belt from underneath the bottom cushion. And the bottom cushion just pulls out by a tab on either side, and you can just pull it out of the car. With the cushion out of the way, you can see where the seat belts are anchored in the bottom. You'll just undo those torque bolts. To start removing the C-pillar, there's a little plastic tab at the top that you will need to undo, and you can see how that looks here. Then to get it the rest of the way out, you can kind of pull towards the front of the car and the panel should come out. Then if you want to remove the panel completely, you'll just pull the seat belt the rest of the way through the panel. Moving to the front, the A-pillar trims are held in by some pretty strong plastic tabs on the back of the trim piece. So I started at the top kind of this piece and lifted up and then out, and that started to pop those tabs out of place. I also found that the little tabs at the bottom are kind of stuck in the dashboard pretty good, so it'll take a little bit of wiggling to get those out of there. The B-pillar trim is held to the body of the car with a series of metal clips. I'm using a trim puller tool just to pop those clips out on the body side, and then this piece doesn't have to come all the way out, it can just kind of lay in the car after you've gotten it loosened. I did end up having to unclip the lower part of the piece too, just so that it would be completely free to then lay kind of in the back floorboard. Then I went ahead and removed all of the front pieces, starting with the sun visors. These are pretty straightforward. There's just these screws on either side that hold it in place. Then these little lights come out pretty easily. There's just a notch on one end. And to remove the grab handles, there's just these little tabs that reveal the screws that hold them in place. Moving towards the dome light assembly, there's a little cover for one of the sensors on the windshield. That's just held in on the sides by some tabs. Just be careful with this again because it is going to be a little bit brittle. There's another plastic piece right behind it that you can also pop out of place, and that'll help you get better access to this piece. As for the actual mirror, it's held in place by this really strong spring, so you'll need to pull it down with a good bit of force to pop it out of the housing that it's in. Then to start getting the dome light out, there's 2 little tabs on this end that you'll push in to be able to pull that out. Then once it's out, it's just a matter of undoing all the connectors and they make them all different sizes, so at least you won't be able to mix them up. Next, you'll just need to unscrew this little metal plate. That's what holds the rearview mirror in. To get the rear dome light out, you'll first need to remove this little speaker grill looking thing. This one's a bit weird because it takes quite a bit of force to pull it out. It's held in by these little pegs on the side. In this car, the wiring harness for all of the overhead accessories is glued to the headliner board, so you'll need to undo the connectors at the back. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second, but it involves undoing all of these trim pieces and then also loosening an antenna box on the back C-pillar. Once you remove this trim piece, you can see where all of the wiring connectors are bundled up. After you carefully snip the zip tie, you can pull the bundle out and then start disconnecting stuff. It's the same thing where all the connectors are unique. Back on the C-pillar, there's this green antenna box that covers where the wires go through, so you'll want to loosen that and move it out of the way. When that box is removed, then you should have enough clearance to pull the wires through. So at this point, everything is disconnected and you should be able to get the headliner free. This will involve a lot of running around the car, as you can see, pulling down, and then you'll actually want to slide the whole headliner board forward because there is a little tab that holds it into the back of the sunroof. And here you can see the start of how you're going to be getting it out of the car. You'll get it out of the front passenger door, and it's going to be a very tight fit, and you're going to need to actually bend the board as you pull it out. You can see I've got cardboard and some other fabric protecting the center console and the dashboard and stuff. You'll want to do that just so that it doesn't get all scuffed up, because as you can see, it is a really tight squeeze to get it out. But just keep feeding it through the passenger door opening and adjusting, and eventually you will be able to pull it all the way out. I'll show you a bit of how the headliner board goes back in. You can see that it was redone in the suede material, and I've already got it most of the way in. So you'll still need to bend a little bit to get it in place, but once it is inside the car, you can then put it back in place. You'll see for this step, I get back in the car, and I'm going to kind of sit in the floor of this one because I took the front seats out. But kind of above my head, I will try and guide it into that slot behind the sunroof I talked to you about first. So then it's going to be held in place enough to start putting the accessories back. And as you start putting everything back together, it will hold, more and more securely as you go along. Here I'll just show you what it looks like with things mostly back together. This one I did the A and C pillars also in the matching suede fabric. The customer chose this darker gray suede material, and I think it turned out to look really good.